The fox stops 2 steps from the sidewalk, tail low, one paw lifted clear of the ground. Traffic drones. A porch light washes the fur with warm yellow. It looks up, right at the couple on the stoop, as if to say, "Look, the paw hangs there," trembling. And then the animal does something stranger than fear. It doesn't run. We tell ourselves not to project. Wild is wild. If an animal limps toward a human, it's disoriented, desperate, confused, maybe. But what if there's a thin, older story here, one where pain has a grammar, and some species have learned that we can read it? Start with faces. In 2010, Jeffrey Mogel's group published the Mouse Grimace Scale, tiny changes in whisker position, narrowed eyes, pinched nose bridges that track pain in mice. Since then, similar grimace scales have been built for rats, rabbits, horses, even cats. The point isn't that mice are acting for us, it's that mammal faces broadcast discomfort with patterns our brains are built to notice. Now make it a conversation. Dogs, shaped by millennia at our side, will perform a simple magic when they're stuck, gaze alternation. They look from the problem to your eyes and back, a loop that says help without words. Goats, surprisingly social, do it too in unsolvable task tests. If domestic animals can recruit human attention with eye contact, then the building blocks are there in the wider family tree. But wild isn't domesticated. So how would a seal, a deer, a whale say, "Help me to a giant ape it has every reason to fear"? Sometimes by doing less. A stressed animal often bolts, bluffs, or freezes. Yet divers have recorded something else. Approach, pause, expose. In 2013 off Kona, a bottlenose dolphin surfaced beside night divers with a fishing line wrapped tight and rolled to present the tango while a knife snipped free. Humpback whales tangled in lines have been documented nosing up to boats and holding still as crews cut ropes. Scientists are careful with words, intent is hard, but the pattern is consistent: movement toward humans, orientation of the injured area, stillness that lets hands work. There are reasons this could evolve or be learned. First, signals. Pain changes posture across species: limping, asymmetric gait, guarding a limb, reduced grooming, lowered head and tail. Those are readable to us because our own bodies do the same. Second, attention. Humans are visual primates with hypersocial brains. We are easy to alert, especially with the right triggers. High-pitched cries hit circuitry tuned to infant whales. Big eyes, rounded faces, a softened mouth, baby schema, pulls care out of us before thought. An animal that stumbles into that frequency band of our empathy may find doors opening, nets cut, hooks removed. Culture feels the rest, not human culture, animal traditions. In some places, urban foxes learn that sitting in view instead of fleeing brings food. In others, they never try. Across Africa, honeyguides recruit people with chattering calls and zigzag flights to lead them to wild hives. That is not PAM, but it is a template, a behavior that treats humans as tools and spreads by social learning. If one whale survives because it lingered near a boat long enough to be freed, the act could etch into memory and reappear when a calf gets snagged. We also changed the risk math. For many animals, the human zone is a repellent border. For some, it is now a shield. Predators avoid streets and lights. Big cats shadow parks at night. Prey species map these patterns. If the dangerous predator won't come close to porches, the porch becomes a weirdly rational clinic. A wounded deer that beds near a barn isn't tame. It's gaming the map. Then there's the eye contact moment, the part that feels like a request. In most species, a direct stare is threat, yet ravens, crows, and foxes will watch our eyes. Some birds follow human gaze to locate points of interest. Corvids even change caching strategies when they know they're being watched. If reading our attention helps them steal, it can also help them ask, "Look here, now look at me." It's important to say what we don't know. No one can climb inside a whale's mind and prove that "help me" is the caption. What we have are behaviors that line up with the hypothesis and payoffs that would favor them. Scientists argue appropriately about where careful inference ends and wishful thinking begins. At the edge of that argument, though, are hands with knives and ropes and animals holding still. And there's the risk on our side. Help, done badly, becomes harm. Feeding for sympathy trains boldness that gets foxes killed. Touch spreads disease. Rescue attempts can drown entangled whales. That's the paradox. The very empathy these signals awaken needs to be channeled through patience and protocol, calls to wildlife centers waiting for trained teams, keeping distance unless you have no alternative but to act. So why does this scene move us so much? Because the grammar is older than language. A lifted paw, a body turned to present a wound, a quiet, steady gaze that holds your face for a heartbeat longer than fear allows. These things trip systems in us that kept groups alive on the savannah, monitor the injured, comfort the crying, don't lose the limping one at the back. The feeling feel personal because they are, but they're also ancient infrastructure coming online. The twist is uncomfortable. Sometimes what looks like a plea is a trap of our storytelling. Raccoons wash their hands, they aren't begging. Opossums play dead, they aren't surrendering. A fawn that lets you pick it up may be exercising a perfectly tuned anti-predator freeze, and your kindness may steal it from its mother. Reading the signs is not just about saying yes to the right asks, it's about saying no to the wrong ones. And yet, there are those nights on the water, that road's edge at dusk, the moment in the yard when everything narrows to a wound and a look. We are the landscape now, loud, lit, dangerous, strangely reliable. Animals are learning us. Some already know the gesture that opens our hands. If you live in a city, you've seen the edges of it. The pigeon that lands too close and fluffs to show a line tangled around a foot. The hawk that sits low on a fence and does not rise until you edge around and see the fishing lure buried in the wing. Maybe that's the deepest part of the story. Pen makes signals out of bodies. Cognition makes bets. Culture copies what works. We, the predictable giants, are now part of the bet. The task is to be worth the approach. Wise enough to answer when the answer is yes, humble enough to wait when it isn't. One evening, the fox takes a slow step closer. You hold still. It lifts the paw higher, shows you the birds you couldn't see before, bristles silver with the porch light, and the street hum goes thin. In that small silence, the wild and the human share a grammar older than both of you. The sentence doesn't end with words, it ends with what you do next.